again, welcome everyone to our February 30 Minutes of Excellence session. We are so glad to have each of you here. So, just a quick introduction. My name is Kim Meadows, and I am the training director here at the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals. Again, glad to have you here for our February 30 Minutes of Excellence session. In case you don't know, we do this session every month on the fourth Wednesday of each month. And we do this session, we bring in different presenters to talk about different workforce topics that's going on throughout the industry. Our presenter for today is going to be talking about transportation. And, working in any workforce development agency, organization, or program, we know that one of the biggest barriers that a lot of our clients and customers have is that barrier of transportation. So, our presenter today is really going to talk about how their agency is really standing in that gap. Geoff Crawford is he's our presenter for today. Just so funny story how Geoff and I met. We were at the Maryland Raising the Bar conference together.
Yes.
So I was exhibiting, and Geoff happened to be exhibiting right beside me with his virtual reality technology. And he was taking all of the people, all of the attendees who walked by, wanted to try out virtual reality. And I did myself as well. And it was just absolutely amazing the work that they're doing to really stand in the gap of that transportation barrier. I did ask Geoff to come on, share some of his knowledge and some of the things that his agency is doing for our February 30 Minutes of Excellence. He graciously accepted. So, Geoff Crawford, I will turn it over to you, and thank you for being here with us today.
Absolutely.
And
Kim,
the
thank you
floor
very
is
much.
yours.
Well, thank you for having me and having us. Again, my name is Geoff Crawford, and my role is Vice President of Virtual Reality for an outstanding nonprofit. So I cannot wait to talk about it. And in fact, since we have such an esteemed group of folks on this, I'm not going to talk too much because my raspy voice will not do it justice. But I do want to let you know that I am going to show you 3 different clips. The first clip is going to be a clip that we did when we were a year ago at the National Automobile Dealer Association show. They're one of our sponsors, and they're also on our board as well. Over 17,000 dealer groups. They basically are the market for the car market. They're a partner of ours. They had said that Vehicles for Change is the most comprehensive training organization in America, community-based. So that's a heck of a title to have. And then next after that, we were blessed to have an opportunity for CNN to come do a story on us and really talk about the work, basically the business case or the work case for the shortage of mechanics. We're in an absolute crisis for mechanics, and it's only going to get exponentially worse. So the CNN clip's going to kind of talk a little bit about that. Third is what y'all came here for, and it wasn't to see this gray bearded gentleman talk. It was to see the product. And so I'm going to show you, and I'm talk a little bit during it, but get to see, and we'll talk about our 4 learning modes, or our 4 modalities for learning. And then after that, we're going to show you the assessment. And then after that, pass it on to Kim for any questions and answers. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity, and hopefully technology will be nice to me. So we're going to start off and I'm going to pull up and show you. This is again at the NADA show. This was exciting to be there. It was exciting to be sponsored for them, and for them to say we have the most comprehensive training organization in America. That's pretty cool. So that's the video, and it kind of shows you our whole organization, kind of how we started.
Vehicles for Change is proud to be the nation's largest affordable car ownership program. This organization not only sells vehicles at great rates, but they are also helping to combat poverty by providing reliable and low-cost vehicles to eligible families. We had a chat with Martin Schwartz, Vehicles for Change president, on the expo floor. Let's hear what he had to say.
Vehicles for Change is a 23-year-old nonprofit in Baltimore, Maryland. Originally, we were set up to address the issue that people living in poverty have in getting to and from employment. The major barrier for them is transportation. So we designed a program where we take donated cars, we repair them, and then we identify families who need a car through partner agencies. So we work with domestic violence shelters and job training programs, etc., and we provide them a car. They buy a car for $950. We provide them with a 12-month loan and a 6-month warranty so that we make sure the car stays on the road while they're getting back on their feet, and they establish credit while they're paying for their car. all our cars, for the most part, get donated from the general public. We do get some from dealerships and some local garages that donate cars. They come into our program. In 2016, we launched what we call the Full Circle Auto Repair and Training Center, where we train individuals, mostly who are coming directly out of incarceration, to be auto mechanics. So they work on these cars while we're getting them ready for families while they're training. So they're in the classroom studying for ASE exams and 6.5 hours a day working on cars. And then we award the car to the family at our facility in Baltimore. So we actually have 4 facilities in Maryland. 3 of them are just training programs, and our facility in Halethorpe is where we award cars, we bring in all our car donations, and we do the car repairs right there. We've been very lucky in creating a partnership with the National Automobile Dealers Association. We actually found out that we actually hit 3 of their 4 pillars for their foundation. So we're really excited to be a partner of theirs. I believe they're almost as excited to have us as a partner. You know, one of their biggest issues is they can't find technicians. So we've recently developed a virtual reality auto technician training program where we can now put a training program in any high school, in any prison, in any workforce development or community college across the country for a fraction of what it would cost to actually put a live training program there. And the training program right now will take you through how to use a lift, how to do an oil change, a brake job, and use a tire machine and balancer. Eventually, we'll be adding additional modules so we can really take somebody through the entire process of auto repair. I think the big thing to know about Vehicles for Change is that we're changing lives. Getting a car isn't just an impact on your ability to get to work, but you can now take your children to after-school activities, to daycare. You can get to a grocery store. In impoverished neighborhoods, there are no grocery stores. You have to take a bus or some way to get there. Having a car is really transformational for the family. And on the other end of it, working with individuals coming out of incarceration, we just need to give people coming out of prison an opportunity and a chance to make a living wage where they can grow into a career, and we'll reduce the recidivism rate significantly across this country, and at the same time reduce cost for taxpayers because it costs us $50,000 a year to incarcerate somebody. Now they're working, they're paying taxes, they're taking care of their family, reducing crime. So Vehicles for Change has the blueprint to make this happen, and we want to expand this to 20 locations across the country. We now take car donations across the country, so if somebody has a car that they want to donate, we can pick it up anywhere in the country with our partners. A lot of those cars will go to auction because they're not in good enough shape to award to a family, but we need those funds to support the organization. That's a big piece of the way we support the program. So if you have a car, if your listeners have a car to get rid of, please reach out to us at vehiclesforchange.org. You can donate right on our webpage. If you're interested in getting a program in your neighborhood, you can reach out to us that way too. We'd love to talk to you.
And Kim, I want to thank you guys in advance. Kim said that you all agreed that 90% of you will give us a trade-in within the next 72 hours. That is incredible action, Glide. I thank you, everybody. You know, that Kim, that is it. All jokes aside, we do rely on trade-ins to significantly for us to help. And I'll explain it why that's important as we transition. So the next thing I want to show you is our news story from CNN. And the funny part about this is that we were supposed to go live. And that same week was the week that the Chinese air balloons were in the air, and they were supposed to go live, and we kept getting beat by the balloon. So we lost to a balloon 8 days in a row. So they ended up doing a whole story on this. So it wasn't live, but it was the closest thing. But this is more showing you the business case for the job mechanic shortage. And so let me share that with you.
Nationwide mechanic shortage. There are thousands of mechanic jobs open across the country.
CNN's Pete Montine has more on how one program is taking training new mechanics to a new level.
It is the newest fix for a vocation in short supply: virtual reality. She is replacing the tire.
Here at Maryland nonprofit Vehicles for Change, the first tool trainee mechanics use is a pair of Oculus VR goggles. The simulated shop floor has it all, from the lift to the quintessential impact wrench.
It's going to expedite the process of getting folks entry level ready to come into the garages.
The latest industry forecast says retirements from dealerships and repair shops will rise nationwide. There are 76,000 new openings for trained auto technicians each year, but 37,000 of those jobs go unfilled.
We did a search the other day, and Indeed, just in the state of Maryland, for auto technicians locally, and it was over 2,600 technicians.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
After a little bit of instruction, I was ready to give it a try.
Is my hair okay?
Lesson 1, changing the oil.
The cool thing about this is you can move around the shop, but also interact with the world around you. I'm taking the controller and grabbing the lift handle here and moving it up, and up goes the car.
The VR is really, as you saw, almost as real as you can get without having your hands on a car.
Martin Schwartz came up with this idea to supplement his charity. It's given out 7,500 donated cars to low-income families. But it's also his mechanics getting a second chance. The shop here is an internship for prisoners re-entering society.
It's a field that is a little bit more lenient and is willing to hire people with a criminal background, and you can make quite a living.
Terrence Grandy says his life was the streets of Baltimore's drug trade. Now he's putting cars back on the street.
For someone that's incarcerated that comes home to a stable financial situation, that enables them not to go back to do the same thing that led them in prison.
The goal here is to spread this technology across the country, even teaching prisoners still behind bars. Marcus Butler started his virtual reality training as part of a work release program. He is days away from the end of his prison sentence and the start of a new career.
I have a trade, a skill that is with me. I learned it. I know it. And no matter where I go, it's always cars. There's cars everywhere. So I always have a job.
Pete Muntean, CNN, Washington.
Fantastic program.
Yeah.
That's the way you fight recidivism, is that you
Yes.
give someone a skill where they can provide for themselves and for their families without going back to the drug trade.
And it helps the community as well.
Yeah.
It needs more mechanics.
Certainly. Thank you, Pete, for that story. Investigator just made an arrest.
So that last line right there says everything. And I think I'm speaking to the choir when I'm talking to about this. This is not about recidivism anymore. This is about reentry. And so what we were able to do, one thing we know at Vehicles for Change, we are a sure bet at training auto mechanics. And what we're also is a sure bet at getting them job placed. And so my president, we have 3 facilities that do that. We want to grow it nationally. So in order to fund that, he wanted to create virtual reality. Now, the virtual reality idea came from one of our board members who has he's the CEO of his own software company at a high level. And he introduced us to a company called HTX Labs out of Houston, Texas. And they do the software for us. Prior to this, they had a partnership with the United States Air Force. And so what they do for the Air Force is they created a virtual garage in which there is a C-130 plane in a virtual environment. And the mechanics that just start for the Air Force, that's what they train them on to start. What the Air Force liked about it, it was 4 times more quicker to train. It was 100 times more effective, and there was 0 safety issues. And then they understood that the myopic way that you learn these things actually increased the learning. So there was a lot of data to support that. And so we felt like if the United States Air Force is using it to train pilot technicians on 24,000 parts of a C-130 plane, that putting a 2019 Chevy Equinox to do brakes, oils, and tire change probably not going to be as bad. So we partnered with HTX Labs and created the software. So now I have a training program that's 125 hours right now in which you can get how to do an oil change, how to change the brakes, and how to do tires. And so I wanted to just kind of explain to you, but what I want to show you now, and I'm going to talk through it as well, is show you the video of the virtual reality. Hold on 1 second. So this is my baby. my Ikigai, the instructional mode of the future of virtual reality. To our understanding, we're one of the only ones that are able to have something exactly like this. And so basically what I have, there's 4 modalities in this training mode. It's what we call explore mode. We have what we call watch mode. We have guide mode, and we have assess mode. And what we're going to do is explain, or I'll explain each one of those steps in the process. So for the explore mode, this is the student or the client's their first time getting involved. Most of them the first time get into a virtual reality environment. So we want them comfortable. And so they use teleportation. You can walk around, you can create an environment that you can walk around, but what we've uncovered is it's quicker to teleport. And that will make quick training quicker, and it makes the experience more effective. So here's a virtual garage. This is you in the headset, walking around. This is an oil change lesson. So what the student now is getting comfortable with, you can see that we have all the tools and stuff. And the student's just getting comfortable like it was your first day at the garage. Oh, here's what's this. With the tools, you're just getting comfortable in the shop. What Explore Mode's also designed to do is once the student's comfortable getting used to the headset and kind of what that all feels like. And for those of you who have first gotten into virtual reality, you know it takes a couple of minutes to get used to it, the ooh, the ah, the oh. And so that's exactly no different than when it's like when you go to a real shop. Now you're comfortable with that. You're like, all right, I want to learn a couple of more pieces about it. So now here's our environment, and we have what we call points of interest. So that's what those pink circles are. So this is just oil change lesson parts. And so the student hits the oil filter, you can spread it out like a workshop for all people with all types of vision. So it makes it clear. And that's the oil filter exactly to the T. And it tells you exactly what the oil filter is. That's the description that would be used to describe it when they take the ASE testing. Here's another example of the oil wrench. That is to scale what the wrench size would be. Again, you can expand it to read it. You can move it around and have the environment enjoy it however you would like to. Now, the student's like, okay, and eventually they go around and they get comfortable with all the parts and what they do. So now they're ready to go in what they call watch mode. Now, this is our subject matter expert in the headset. That's Terrence in the video. And this is what he sounds like sitting down and listening to Terrence.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next sit down in VFC's Virtual Garage. In today's lesson, I will be teaching you all about oil viscosity. So let's get started. For oil to be able to cushion parts, it needs to have the proper viscosity. Viscosity is a measure of how easily a liquid flows. Low viscosity liquid is thin and flows easily. High viscosity liquid is thick and flows slowly.
And why we call that a sit down is, quite frankly, you saw that it's Terrence. Let me just rewind a little bit. It's his hands and it's his glasses. Now, it's a virtual reality. The reason why we don't have an avatar or anything fixed in is because you're following the person. You want to be able to see through them when they're at the car. So if they're at the front of the hood and it's blocking it and you can't see my face, but now that's if Terrence had a body. But now without the avatar, you can see through it. So that's why it looks a little different, but it is very easy to follow Terrence in the garage with the white hands, the gloves, and with the glasses. So that is our actual mechanic who actually went through the training, who actually does. So that's where the virtual reality and the immersive technology come into play. In this mode, we have 91 right now, 91 sit downs in which there would be a 5 to 7 point quiz at the end, just to make sure the student is paying attention. You would be able to see that. And then in order to get past, you have to pass it at a certain clip. The pieces that Terrence is talking about will be brought up in the assessment. And I'll explain more about that. So that's what watch mode is. So now—
low viscosity liquid is thin and flows easily. High viscosity liquid is thick and flows slowly.
So now the student wants to go in guide mode. There will be no Terrence. So the virtual assistant, he is out of it. But you do have a list of what to do in each step in the process, and I'll explain to you what the blinking blue means. So the student here is going to pull up the checklist, and the first step in the process is to operate the vehicle lift. Once they do, you see it automatically gets checked off of the checklist. The student does not have to do anything. Blinking blue is the next step, and the air compressor putting on was blinking blue. And at this point, the student would have known which tool, what impact socket to put on, because they would have learned that from the lesson before. So now they can grab the worksheet, like it's a piece of, you put it there, and now you can see the blinking blue means they're going to do the lug nut. Once you successfully complete the next step in the process, the next part will blink blue. That is the guide mode. If you need to find, so if the student forgets a part or a piece, so I'll show you what it looks like a student doing a brake job. Here's a situation where they have to go and they have to torque the caliber bolt to 20 foot-pounds. Now, they would have known this again from the lesson before. They would have known to grab this tool, to use that socket, and they have to torque it to 20 foot-pounds. So they grab it, they adjust it to the, and this is the manufacturer recommendation, and that's why it's on the checklist. So they have to torque it and put it on a sliding bolt. So now they have to know to put a torque, and then now they would need to know where the sliding bolt is. Well, let's say they don't forget where the sliding caliber bolt is. It's blinking blue. And if they successfully do it, the next step blinks blue. So that's how you know that you successfully went to the next step. Now I want to show you what my favorite part of this is, the student making a mistake. So now they're at 20 foot-pounds on there, but it says torque it to 140. Well, the student's rushing, hurrying up, and they just boom, and a safety violation pops up. So now the student gets to go, they cannot proceed without understanding why that was a violation. And they go, oh, that's right, I need to torque it to 140 foot-pounds. That's my bad. So now they get the level set. They don't continue bad habits while they did it. So they do it, it successfully does it. And I know it is because the next step in the process blink blue, that's success, and you see the whole brake pad. So that's the student. Boy, they get really excited when they made a mistake and fixed it. So I'll pause here real quick. We've had 3 modes up to now, and this is now the 4th mode is assessment. So explore mode is the student getting comfortable in the headset, parts identification, getting familiar with it. You can't do heart surgery if you don't know what a scalpel is. Next, you go into what they call watch mode. You're watching the subject matter expert do it. You're getting trained, and you're just following along, understanding and taking it in so you can familiarize yourself with that stuff when it's time to come to this mode. And we have 5-point quizzes at the end of each sit down to level set. What I didn't tell you guys is those 5-point, 7-point tests, they're ASE style questions. So the summation of all of those 5 to 7-point quizzes sum up to what the student needs to know in full for this assessment. And this assess mode is designed for them to pass the ASE student certification for that. So this is the first time they get introduced to ASE style testing. Now for us, our mandate is that it has to be 90% for you to get through. When you get the student ASE in real life, they only require it to be 50%. So if there is a fall off between virtual to actual, it won't be a 40% decrease. So now in this mode, assess mode, for the prototype, there is a checklist, but when the student is actually going live, they say, I don't need instruction, I don't need anything. So they need to know the order. We monitor each step in the process. Was it done in order? And I'll show you that assessment. But this is the student, and they have to go do this 3 times consecutively with no mistakes. And what you're going to see is at the end of each one of the assess modes, when you complete the lesson and you finish the last step in the process, instantly you go into a 48 to 60, depending on which lesson it is, 48 to 60 question ASE style test. And so that's why we believe that when they pass the test, they will, I mean, if they pass our test at 90% clip, they will have no problem pass. And if not, we will pay for the student, that we'll pay for the ASE reimbursement. So you're about to see the last step in the process is to close the hood. The minute the student closes the hood, bam, we have the ASE style test. So just to pause it, that is a ASE style question. The 4 answers that are in there are, they're not designed to trick the student or the client, but they are designed to be the right answers or somewhat right. And so that's how the style of the testing is. And then now this is the student get ready to see that, and then they can find out the most right answer. And at the end, there is an assessment that shows all the questions and all the answers. Now, it'll show it in this demo, but I'm going to stop it and actually show it to you live, because this is where I really believe it all comes together. And let me pull up the assessment. This is a live assessment. So we did like this would be what you would see. So if you're a facilitator or whoever is doing this, we're going to show you what you would see at the completion of that student's testing. So this is just an example of 3. So like I mentioned to you before, expert, each step in the process for this is the interactive oil change lesson. How long does it take you to open the hood, to remove the dipstick? And you as the expert, meaning the client, you can decide what you think that standard should be. And now the student will understand that that's the mark. So one place might value it being done in 15 seconds. Another place might want you to take 2 minutes opening the hood because that's when you do your pre-check. I don't want to dictate that for you. You can. The training's pliable for and work to do that. And as you can see, if the student did it successfully, it's green. Out of order is blue. We have a situation when they did something unnecessarily, and if they fail, that'll come up. Not only that, you can see at the end of this, you will see all the questions that were asked at the end and what the students answered. So let's just pick a random one. Which of the following is a function of the engine's lubrication system? And you see answers all of the above. Now, the student might have answered one of the three, and that's still the right answer, but they just need to understand that there's a more right answer. And so they get now comfortable with the familiarity of that test. So now when they take it live, they understand what that means. You can also see if it's a right or wrong answer. You can see what the student answered. So I have a manual that says when student gets this answer wrong and you need to help them with it, tell them to go to our facilitator guide on page 48, and that's how they can do this answer. And they can watch video number 31 in the oil change lesson. So you do not have to be a subject matter expert or hire a mechanic to train somebody on that. So those are the 4 modes of learning. You got an explore mode, you have the watch, and you have the guide and the assess. And that's basically my story that I'm going to stick to. So I'll give it back to Kim to kind of open it up for Q&A and anything else that she has.
Yeah, thank you so much, Geoff, for that very well informed presentation. So we appreciate you. We do have a few minutes left, and so if anybody has any questions, go ahead and type that into the chat box. Geoff, I see a couple of just comments coming in, just saying that the training is well done, and this is an incredible program. So you do have just those comments coming in. Tracy has a question saying that, and I had actually jotted this question out too, Tracy, so we're thinking alike. I noticed that it said that you wanted to expand to 20 locations. And so currently, how many locations do you have, and can you kind of tell us where those are?
Absolutely. Trace, that's a great question. So we have 4 now currently. We have 3 here in the Maryland area that are the full training sessions. We opened up a 4th location in San Diego. That was our 4th location. That was kind of a hybrid of a brick and mortar facility with the virtual reality. And we think right now there's about 3 different ways that you can do something like this. And that's Marty, my president, his job. But the 20 locations are going to be where we fundamentally, number 1, there's a need. And number 2, where we have the relationship, because this is all about job placement. So that's why we're trying to expand. So we think definitely Delaware. We're working on getting into Wilmington, Delaware, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We believe Detroit, Michigan. We believe there's Mississippi. I would love to come down there to Kim's area in Atlanta, and we go to that. And so there's a few places, but it's going to be need-based and where we have employee partners that would be able to supply the jobs for people that come out of there. And Kim did share in there our social media stuff and my Calendly invite. My Calendly link is in there. So if you guys want to set up an appointment to ask me more questions, you can. I can do this whole thing over for you, or you can get with Kim and get my information. But our social media, we have the LinkedIn, and my Instagram has a lot of what we do there. But yes, that's where we're looking to go. So hopefully that answers your question.
Awesome. So yeah, we have put all Geoff's contact information into the chat. So definitely reach out to him. I see a couple of questions just coming in on how do we get started, or roughly what are the startup costs. So this will be, if they set up an appointment with you, Geoff, this will be questions that you can get answered one-on-one. But is that something you can answer really quickly? Just what that first step is?
And Kim, what I'm willing to do, I can stay on for a little bit if just to settle something. I don't know, you have to go on. I don't mind, and then we can set that up. But whatever you want to, I know we have to be mindful of people's time at 2:30, but I'm willing to stay in for a few more minutes just to kind of, so people don't feel rushed. If you want to,
absolutely. So if you need to jump off, go ahead and jump off, but we'll continue recording. And so Geoff, if you can just speak to those last 2 questions, and then we'll be sure to send those recordings out. So it looks like one of the questions was, how do we get started, and roughly the startup cost. So if you can just address those to me.
Sure. So I'll do the startup cost, and I'm giving you guys inside scoop here. So let me pull up a chart that kind of gives you an explanation of like our cost. It's really based upon cost per student, and I'm not being coy. You'll see when I'm talking about when I pull it up. So to kind of give you an idea, it's about the impact, right? So our license, for you to get one license, it's the real cost is $3,000. That's for one whole year. We would train you on how to train the trainer. We would give you the facilitator guide. We would give you 24 hours of tech support live. It's all included. But just to give you an idea of the impact. So let's say, for example, I just gave breakdown. Let's say you're able to commit 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or 12 weeks. And you're asking, well, how do you determine that? Well, on average, if you can commit 4 hours a day for 6 weeks, we believe you can impact 200 students. If you do it for 8 weeks, sorry about that. If you do 8 weeks, we believe that's 3 hours a day. And if you do it for 12 weeks, that's committing 2 hours a day. So assuming that commitment, you take that $3,000 on a 6-week program. That means you can do 8 of those in a year. You take that's 8 students on one license. You take 3,000, divide that by 8. That's how you get $375 per student. If you have an 8-week program, because you're going to commit to 3 hours, okay, that's 6 of those sessions in a year. $3,000.
Work goes smoothly when you know the right steps. With Asana, you can coordinate tasks across teams and stay on track, so your team can spend more time celebrating wins. Try it for free at asana.com.
Humble apologies. All right, back to here. Sorry, let me get back. I'll put it back up. Humble apologies. Here we go. Sorry about that, folks. All right, back to this. So for the 8-week program, if you do 6 of those, 3,000 divided by 6 would be $500 per student. If you're going to commit 12 weeks, you could do 4 of those sessions. So 4 students on one license divided by 3,000 gets $750. And so that's how it would work for cost per student. And that's the breakdown for now. If you can commit more hours, now we wouldn't recommend doing it because you don't want the person in the headset for more than probably maybe 4 hours a day. But if you can commit 7 days a week versus 5, that can change. So you can really impact. So the more license, we tell you to not get, if you, let's say you were training 100 students, we would tell you not to get more than 25%, no less than 25%, no more than 50%, because you don't need a license per person. And we would walk you and consult you through that. And what was the other question, Kim?
And the other question was just what would be the first step of getting involved? Would that be reach out to you or?
Yes, reach out to me. We set up a calendar invite. It's real easy. I kind of get an idea what you're looking for, what you're looking to do. And if I'm not a solution, I'm going to tell you that too. I'll be very honest with you. I have a team. There's another company called Transfer VR that does like a whole kind of different thing that's very basic. And I don't mean that to minimize them. It's just not as comprehensive. I'm very niche in automotive, and it's very directive for job placement and certification. But there may be a situation where my product's just not a benefit to you. I would offer you maybe some different advice as well. So it's not just about me offering it for me, but oftentimes we can find a solution for you. How it works, we set up the calendar invite, and then once I get an idea of how many people, we give you a proposal that basically just tells you, hey, this is what we can do, similar to what I just showed you, based upon what we uncover from you. You say yay or nay. If you say a go, it only takes us 72 hours to implement. So you can have a program started within 96 hours of you knowing when you want it and agreement upon payment. That's how quickly we can do it. Does that answer the question, Kim?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. And so again, Jeffrey's information is in the chat box. I'll put it here again, just in case.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it'll be at the bottom of the chat box. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for staying the extra 6 minutes with us. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you next month on our 30 Minutes of Excellence. And again, we will send this recording out. So if you have somebody that you want to share with, please feel free to do so. It will be on our Not of YouTube page. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.